Right then, guys, from the title, it wouldn't be all that obvious, but what this is, what you're about to listen to, is an excerpt from an interview I did with Gary J Tunnicliffe. This is the writer, director, and also one of the actors of the film of Hellraiser Judgment. He played the Auditor. He also, as I said, wrote and directed the film. And if you guys know anything about this man, he's a veteran in the industry. He's worked on most Hellraiser films. He has even made fan films, and this is a truly interesting man. But not only that, it was a fantastic interview. The interview itself is 3 hours long. So what I wanted to do is just kind of pull this from the interview itself to give you a kind of flavour for what is to come. I'm going to be dropping the interview in 3 parts because obviously it is 3 hours long. And for those that don't want to listen to it all, I am going to be kind of spot checking various bits and pieces of information that I can kind of pull from it to do in these style of videos, just to give you, again, little snippets of information, kind of quotes here and there, so you don't have to listen to the entire thing if you don't have the time. But I would encourage you to listen to the whole thing because it was a great experience for me, but also it's a great insight into kind of the filmmaking process and also the behind the scenes that really you don't hear about in any of these things in Hollywood, and also a massive insight into why Doug Bradley wasn't in the film, why Clive Barker's movie isn't made, and just an insight into a very interesting man. And I want to take this opportunity right now just to extend my massive thanks to Gary. I don't know if you're going to watch this video, but I just want to say a massive thank you because the time you gave me, you didn't have to. And again, I just want to kind of extend my thanks and appreciation for offering up 3 hours of your evening to chit chat with me, a no-name YouTuber. So I just want to say that massive thank you. I hope you guys really enjoy this. This is, like I said, for a pitch set alongside Hellraiser Judgment. You can hear in my voice, I kind of peak and get a little bit more interested. And it's a really interesting insight to a movie which could have been, but it wasn't. And whether you think one should have been made or the other should have been made, it's kind of besides the point. It's just a really interesting insight into a movie that could have been. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to stop rambling now and over to the excerpt from the interview.
The script I wrote, or the pitch I wrote for Enter Darkness, which was the other script that was pitched with Judgment, had more of that kind of stuff in it.
Oh, okay.
It was a story about, it was kind of like, it kind of tied some of the elements from part 2 into it, or kind of borrowed from it to kind of create its own hybrid, but it was about a psychiatric institute that's run by a doctor. And the film starts with kind of like a very heavy, weird, sadomasochistic sexual experience, and then you realise that what you're actually hearing is a confession, or not a confession, or kind of a confession being given by a patient in a psychiatric hospital. And this doctor has basically got a whole bunch of new students, or students who are basically, they're interviewing people who seem to share a shared phenomena or shared experience, which is the visitation of these weird characters at the hands of this box, you know what I mean? And this doctor is trying to get more information about it, and he's using his students, his team of 5, to gather the information so he can have one giant, thesis on it, if you like.
Yeah.
And one of these student doctors is his daughter as well. So he basically sends them off with a patient each to kind of like interview and research what happened to this patient and blah 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 blah, and then present them with their thesis, their dossier of a breakdown of each of these people and what they experienced, and as much information as they can glean from each candidate. So they start doing that, and you start finding out these something like 5 little chronicle stories now of each character, of who they were before and what they did in their life, and were they a housewife, or were they a builder, or were they a businessman, or whatever they did, you know what I mean? And you find out how they succumb to this addiction, like to heroin, basically to the limit configuration and the weird things that they did. And then these students start finding it's filtering into their own lives, so they're starting to get a bit weird and they're having dreams, and the daughter of the doctor, who's also dating one of the guys, the other student doctors, they start having weird sex because it's kind of infecting them. And then they give all of this work to the doctor, and you see him collating all this information, and you think what he's doing is he's kind of collating it into for work, and then you realise that what he's actually doing is collating it for his own benefit. and then he goes to a safe and pulls out the limit configuration.
Ah.
And he's using it as his own information, and he basically opens the box using the information gleaned from the manuscript that they gave him. And the Cenobites come and rip him apart, and that's the end of it. And he's gone and he's dead. And then the students come in on the following morning, and he's gone. And they can't find the doctor. Blah 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 blah. And then one of them, they get into an argument, and one of them slices their hand, and blood gets on the floor, and it resurrects him. It resurrects him, and basically he comes back and says to his daughter, "For God's sake, you've got to bring me back. Help me, help me, help me." I opened the box, and they came, and she's like, "I can't do this." He's like, "You have to." And basically she talks to the other students, and they go down to the mentally deranged ward, and they start killing patients. You know what I mean? In the basement of this, no one's going to miss them kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And each one of them does it. Each one of them kills somebody. They're kind of making this pact. And when it comes to her doing it, she won't do it. So she ends up running away, and it ends up becoming a cat and mouse thing. And then you find that it turns out he was a sexual deviant, and he betrayed their mother. And their mother, the girl's mother, had died when she was young, and it turned out he was responsible for the death, and blah blah blah. So it became a kind of cat and mouse. So it was more of a traditional sexual Hellraiser kind of esque story.
And that was pitched alongside Judgment then?
It was. Basically what happened was I pitched Judgment 3 times, and they kept saying, no, it's too weird and too creepy, it's too strange and too bizarre. And I kept saying, and I think I did it 3 or 4 times. And then they eventually said, no. And I went away and wrote that pitch, Enter Darkness, came in on the Monday morning and said, here's the pitch for this. And they went, that's great, we love it, fantastic, shoot that.
What?
And I said, no. I said, I think Judgment's the right way to go. And I also thought it was too expensive to do as well. I couldn't do it for the money. Yeah. But they were like, yeah, do that film. That's really, really good. Write that one. Write that film. Write Enter Darkness. And then I said, no, I think Judgment's the film to make. And they said, okay, here's the deal then, mate, as only Hollywood can. They said, write Judgment, and if we don't like it, you write Enter Darkness for free. And then I went,
what a deal.
And like an idiot, I went, okay. And I went home and told my wife, and she's like, you fucking stupid. And I was like, well, clearly, yeah. And I wrote it, and actually it was one of the nicest calls I've had, because it was one of those phone calls that as a writer submitting stuff, Monday morning came, I had my 3 or 4 weeks to do my first draft, and I sent my first draft, and it was like, okay, they want to have a conference call with you, Gary, on, January the 17th or whatever it was, or whenever it was. And you get on the phone, and you're sitting there waiting, and beep, so-and-so has entered the conversation, or, people, you can hear them coming into the room, into the boardroom. Hi, Gary, this is so-and-so. Hi, Gary, this is so-and-so. Oh, we're just waiting for Bob to come in, and all the people, and you're sitting there waiting, and then it goes quiet, and they go, everyone's here now, Gary, and you're like, hi, everybody, and they go, right, so we read the script. It's kind of good, actually. We kind of like it. You're like, oh, yeah. And you're like, oh, great, guys. And then you're like a fucking 5-year-old who's just got, their daddy's approval. You're like, oh, cool, because I'm really glad you liked it. And this is cool. And yeah. Obviously, we have some notes. And then you hear like, the rifling of about 50 pages of notes. You're like, oh, here it comes. Here it comes.
So if you enjoyed that little excerpt and a little bit more of an insight into the filmmaking process, but also the kind of behind the scenes of how Hellraiser Judgment got made, please keep an eye out for future videos on this. I am going to, like I said at the start, drop this interview in 3 parts because it is 3 hours long, and then again various quotes here and there. So please do hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, hit that like button if you enjoyed this. It obviously helps get me more interviews in the future, and if you did enjoy the fact that I managed to interview Gary J Tunnicliffe, then again I would love to do more of this, so please do show your support for that. Like I said, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, whether you think this would be a good thing, a bad thing. Just drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, I have been Mr. H, and until next time, I will catch you in the comment section.